Hi guys, in this next video we're going to find out which commercial property tools can we use to really shorten the curve, to really find deals and analyze deals, and can that be done in 5 minutes or less. So if you want to find out how to shorten the amount of time in finding and analyzing deals, you're really going to love this next video. Hi guys, it's Dan Taylor here and Paul Davis, the founder of Nimbus Maps. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you, yeah.
Welcome to the YouTube channel, and today we're doing a follow-on from the series of how to get started in commercial property. Now, Paul has a ton of family experience in commercial property. It goes back decades, is that right?
It does, yeah, sadly, yeah, decades of experience. We started off investing sort of with a property portfolio, family-owned property portfolio, and that sort of pushed us into working with some big corporates. So we then set up a property development management company and advised all the big pub companies on how do you change a pub into different uses, whether that's retail or residential, things like that, basically. Yeah. So we end up doing lots and lots of those over the course of the last few years, really.
Yeah, so he's got a ton of experience in commercial, and he's boxed a brand, he's done conversions, development, and a whole host of other things in commercial property. But when he was doing these developments and whatnot, he came across a number of different problems. And this project, you know, obviously what we're doing just now is how to get started in commercial and tools to use. And Paul and his brother were the founders of Nimbus, and Nimbus is an incredible tool. So tell us, Paul, why Nimbus? Why use Nimbus? What does it do?
Yeah, so I think, so for us, when we were doing those deals, so kind of give you a feel, we did about 100 odd convenience stores, kind of those Tesco's Express, the Sainsbury's Locals, those sorts of things. What we found is that each time we were looking at a site, we were reviewing the same things each time, but it felt like we were reinventing the wheel each time. So we were sort of looking at whether things flooded and whether they were listed and whether they had the right demographics and all that sort of stuff. And so we felt there had to be kind of a better way of doing that, and that's where Nimbus came from. So Nimbus as a platform gives you all those key bits of information around all those kind of key things that the occupiers are looking for in effect. So you can match those occupiers' requirements up with individual property assets that then are going to be of interest to them. Yeah. And then from that you can also then use the some of the functions within it to go and work out, well, how can I sweat the right amount of money out of this scheme? How can I make sure the rents are the right? How can I make sure that the conditions on my lease are correct and that sort of stuff? And there's a very simple process behind all of that make all that make that work, frankly.
Yeah, and it works pretty simply. It's really easy, an easy tool to use. We spent a day with Paul yesterday. It was absolutely fantastic. And in fact, it was an interesting story when you started out. One of the reasons to crystallise the idea for Nimbus was it came from a mistake, wasn't it? And there's always a silver lining on mistakes and challenges. Yeah, yeah. And it was remember the deal where you had the large industrial unit and the water at the back.
So we had a
tell
scheme.
us more about that. That was great.
This was the old Warwick Road trading estate. So it was a 5-acre site, had about 100,000 square feet of really tired, grotty old industrial buildings on it. And they'd been, in effect, occupied for the last, goodness knows how many years, I think about 100 years old, this thing, kind of early 1900s that the thing was built. And the issue we had, so it was kind of creating some great revenues, but the buildings were all kind of falling apart because they're so old and they're sort of designed 50 years and 100 years old at that point. So the things would have fallen down if we hadn't decided to redevelop them. The challenge we had no understanding of development at the time, and one of the big constraints around the site was a big river running through it, which we knew about, but the site had never flooded previously. So we thought, well, only for 20 years, how can that be a problem for redevelopment? But it turned out, kind of the world pre-Nimbus maps, that actually about 2/3 of the site was in flood zone 3, which then meant we ended up having to raise the buildings out of the flood zone and this sort of stuff. But of course that's really obvious now, because you log into Nimbus Maps and you toggle on an overlay, you click on a title and it sort of shows you these constraints that are there. So kind of nowadays you're way kind of better equipped to understand what those constraints are going to be and those problems you're going to face going forward. Compared to where we were, where we suddenly finally submitted a planning application. And
so it would have been a great tool to have back then.
It would have been brilliant. It would have been absolutely brilliant.
But probably, it's a great thing you develop because it enables all of us to really, find, analyse, and contact owners of sites, either it's on market or off market, really, really quickly. Yep. And analyse what perhaps the rent should be on a property if it's vacant, plus what the comparables upstairs for residential HMOs, in the student accommodation, what the rentals could be, what the sale price comps in the area are, and what's really exciting actually for everybody in Taylor Capital's in the club, where we're interested in shops and uppers, re-gearing leases, boxing a brand, that kind of thing. We're doing some bespoke work with Paul.
Yeah.
We've just discussed it. We're going to instruct him very soon. He's coming back to us with an offer, and that's really exciting. And why is that exciting? Because very, very simply, you'll be able to have three options. So if you're looking at a property, for example, like Nilesh's deal in Didcot, or Derek's deal, which is great deals on option number one, which is if we just want to re-gear the lease. How do we re-gear the lease? What do we need to extend the lease to? What do we need to increase the rent to, in terms of trying to get all our money back out, or most of our money back out of the deal and refinance so we can move on to the next one? It's really, really important to be able to assess that really, really quickly.
Totally.
And the second, obviously, option is, okay, if we want to go a little bit step further past that, and we want to develop the uppers, perhaps under PD, perhaps want to create residential upstairs, claim some of the commercial back and do a residential at the rear on the ground floor. How can we analyse? How can we find them? How can we analyse them really, really quickly? And Paul's putting together a bespoke offering for us, so it's going to be really easy to do those kind of things. And the third thing is obviously the art of boxing a brand, and we've talked about that a number of times, and we're going to do another further in-depth deep dive training on that. But that's really, remember we talked about Wayne Gretzky a few videos ago. We talked about Wayne Gretzky, why he's so good at ice hockey in Canada. And it was really the fact where he always skated to where the puck's going to be. And if we take that back to commercial, and we really want to find out where the big national high street brands, where their requirements are, where do they want to expand to? And we have a bespoke analysis tool that helps us take that information. All that information, instead of it going onto the black book, is already input into Paul's system, and we match that requirement with empty boxes. I mean, how powerful is that going to be in your local area? I think that's going to be a game changer.
Absolutely. Part of the trick, isn't it? To make sure you know what requirement is, what the availability is, what the property stock is they can go into, and happy days, match two up, job done.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to make life so much faster, so much simpler. You're able to find sites, analyse sites on the one system without going anywhere else. That for me is going to be a game changer. It's going to make your life a lot easier, our life a lot easier, and make Paul a happy bunny as well. So totally. It's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely.
So anything else that Nimbus Maps do? What's the top thing in your mind that it does in terms of helping investors do more deals?
Yeah, so there's 8 ways to find land with Elite, and often those sort of combination of those 8 ways really can drive as much opportunity as you kind of want, really. So historically, the issues around property business, how do you scale them? How do you find enough opportunities? How do you find the right opportunities? And then, of course, if you're not finding enough opportunities, you're chasing down the opportunities you have because you've got so few of them. And if you can break that, which is what Nimbus does, and you can drive enough opportunities at your business, you can sort and pick and choose the stuff that really does work and the stuff that is really aligning and coming to a point where you're then happy and comfortable that there's enough in it for what you want, rather than being pushed too hard and having to spend a little bit more than you expect you want to, and then risking not making the right returns out of things. So I think Nimbus is really helpful in that way because you can be more choosy. You can be kind of pick the right stuff rather than chasing the wrong stuff, which I think is a big part. And then the second bit then is about knowing what those conditions, those kind of problems are going to be before they hit in that kind of that flood example.
Yes, absolutely.
If we'd known about that, we would have had a very different approach. In our case, we'd have refurbed rather than rebuilt, and it would have been a very different scheme.
And you may have repriced it.
Absolutely.
Based on that extra information.
Absolutely.
And that's at the touch of your fingertips.
Absolutely.
Which is incredible. So imagine all those overlays, 8 ways to find properties, having overlays from planning permissions, planning department, from the rates department, from flood zones department, different councils, average residential house prices in little plots of areas. All that at your fingertips. Now, on top of that, overlaying on top of that, national high street brand requirements. It's going to be it's a very bespoke and boutique offering that's just going to be for Taylor Capital. I'm excited about it. I think Paul's quite excited about it, and it's going to really offer us some incredible opportunities. Like, for example, imagine having the list from Aldi where they're going to expand, i.e. where they're going to relocate, therefore having the list of where Aldi are going to be closing in 2 years' time. Now that's quite powerful. Would
Totally.
that be quite interesting?
Yeah,
Absolutely. There's a lot of opportunities there. Now imagine having the same list for the co-op, for example. You know, the kind of where the co-op are relocating or reconfiguring or remodeling their shop to get to the new format. Now that kind of information is going to be absolutely gold dust, and that's the kind of things that we're going to bring to the market ourselves together, working collaboration on a sole and exclusive basis for everybody in commercial property. I'm excited. It's going to be great. How long do you think it's going to be, Paul? Roughly.
That's going to be not long, I suspect. Not long. We'll have to chat with the guys in the office and we'll see what we can pull out with.
So this is going to be ready Q1 anyway. Tail end of Q1, worst case. Hopefully before, but tail end of Q1. But what we're hoping for is beginning of Q1, beginning of March, to have an MVP of this bespoke boutique kind of offering to help ourselves, our fellow club members, really find deals, analyse deals, and contact the owners really, really quickly. And really on the back of a fag packet. I mean, incredibly quickly. How quick do you think you could analyse a deal? Like, for example, a simple one, like a shops and uppers, get the values for rental.
Yeah, dead easy. They're so quick. It's
5
a
minutes.
lot of it's something like that. Yeah,
Under 5 minutes,
less than
analyse
that
a
even,
deal.
yeah.
Back
Yeah,
of the fag packet analysis in under 5 minutes. Paul's confirmed he's going to deliver this.
Easy. Easy.
I've actually seen him do it yesterday, so he can already do it. But adding on the back of that requirements and that kind of thing in our bespoke strategies that we do in commercial, I think that's going to make all the difference. So it's going to be great. I can't wait. And any final words, Paul? In terms
No,
of
just exciting, really. It's these sorts of opportunities are brilliant. There's kind of they're so simple in many ways. And you can kind of de-risk them throughout all of it. So it's brilliant. This is very exciting stuff as far as I'm concerned. It's kind of stuff we've done loads of in the past, sort of in our local area and stuff. It's great model.
And in what's coming down the pipeline, because I know you do 90-day sprints in the office in terms of constantly developing the platform going forward.
Absolutely.
What's coming this year? Can we get a little insight?
So some of the key stuff we're doing at the moment. So we've got a big focus on planning. So planning alerts, planning policies, all this sort of stuff, all those kind of overlays. There's some work going on around kind of managing your workflow. So as you generate all these opportunities, how do you keep on top of those? How do you make sure that you're chasing stuff up, making sure when you found opportunities that you're staying in touch with those owners and managing all of that. So there's further work. There's lots of that support in the platform as it stands. We want to kind of make that the best we possibly can. And there's a whole heap of alerts and functionality around properties coming onto the market and how we kind of link that into those big brands, the big boxes we've been talking about. So loads of cool new stuff we're working on in the background, and exciting times for us all, I think.
Absolutely. So that's what's coming down the pipeline. But already, right now, it's an incredible tool to help us, find, analyse, and contact owners really, really quickly, both on market and off market. That's the good thing about this. We can find details, ownership really, really quickly. For example, if you have a, let's just take Costa Coffee, for example, or Starbucks or Wetherspoons. When I was looking at Wetherspoons, when we were negotiating our lease on one of ours, it was basically I text the solicitor. He pulled the leases for 3 units that are very, very demographically similar to where my property was. That took, I don't know how many days. I wasn't in a rush really, but it took almost a week to gather that information, then read through the leases, and it's probably a 2-week process by the time I then got back to Wetherspoon. But that information gathering enabled me to realise how much rent they can pay in that demographic, that kind of population base. Number 2, how many square foot was their kind of de minimis, what the minimum size they were after. I knew a rough idea, but when you pull leases on similar demographic areas, you have insights. FRI, what conditions, what was the rent-free package, all these kind of information that's like a gold mine before you're proceeding to discuss or negotiate with a national high street brand.
Absolutely.
Now
Company guarantees and that sort of stuff. It can hit 1% yield difference, can't it? And
Absolutely.
So it's knowing if they'll accept it or not. We can push harder on that negotiation, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So imagine having all that at your fingertips. So before you go and offer to one of the national high street brands, you have all that information at your fingertips. Maybe 3 or 4 leases you pulled at the cost of only £3 each, and they're instantly available like that. It's incredible information at your fingertips, simplified in a bespoke solution for the club. I can't wait. So Paul,
absolutely.
Thanks very much for coming on the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll speak to you all soon. Thanks, guys.
All the best. Thanks, guys.